Sometimes it's just a small detail out of place for everything to change. A borrowed dress, a randomly chosen table, a lie told out of loyalty. What should have been just a small favor turns into an unexpected encounter, capable of turning a life upside down. Among swapped identities, revealed secrets and unlikely laughter, an apparently wrong choice paves the way for profound discoveries about love, destiny, and about who we truly are when we stop living in the shadow of others. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Pamela nervously adjusted Claire's borrowed blouse. Too bright, too revealing, too... Claire. The mirror reflected a version of herself she didn't recognize, not just because of the clothes, but because of the anxious expression that rarely occupied her serene face. "You just need to hold the fort for half an hour, Pam," Claire repeated over the phone, her voice blending desperation with that magnetic persuasion that always worked on her sister. "I promise I'll be there as soon as the meeting finishes. This guy is special, I can't miss this chance." Pamela sighed. "This is madness, Claire. We're identical twins, but we're completely different in everything else." "That's exactly why it's going to work. He doesn't know either of us yet. Just pretend to be me for a few minutes." Since she was young, Pamela had accepted her role as the twin who yields, who balances, who supports. Claire was the star. Brilliant, daring, always demanding more from life. Pamela was the necessary counterpoint, patient, reflective, the anchor that kept her sister grounded in reality. Their parents always said they complemented each other perfectly, like two halves of a whole. Over time, Pamela accepted that her purpose was to be the support behind the scenes of the spectacle that was Claire's life. "All right," Pamela finally agreed, feeling that familiar sensation of stepping out of her comfort zone just to please her sister. Bella Luna Restaurant, 7:30 p.m, table for two under the name Claire Bennett. 30 minutes, no more. "You're the best sister in the world," Claire exclaimed, quickly hanging up to return to the meeting. The taxi stopped in front of the restaurant, an elegant place with yellowish lights dancing through the windows. Pamela took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. There was something deeply uncomfortable about pretending to be someone else, even if that person was genetically identical to you. Inside the restaurant, the tables were arranged cosily, creating small private universes for each pair of customers. The maître led her through the main hall. "Table for Claire Bennett." On their way to the reserved table, he was called away hurriedly. "Forgive me, madam, your table is the one next to the pillar," the maître said, pointing to the indicated spot. As she walked there, Pamela felt her stomach churn. The man wore a navy blue shirt that accentuated his broad shoulders. There was something about his posture, relaxed yet attentive, that made her hesitate for a second. When he turned around, Pamela felt her face flush. He was handsome in a subtle and profound way. Attentive brown eyes, a reserved smile that seemed to hold pleasant secrets, slightly dishevelled dark hair. It wasn't the kind of beauty that exploded at first sight, but one that revealed itself gradually, like a complex melody. Pamela, when embarrassed, tended to talk too much, and that situation left her very embarrassed. "Hello," he said upon seeing her standing beside him. "Hello, I'm Claire. Sorry for being late. The traffic was terrible, that's why I'm late. I need to sit down for a bit, excuse me." Pamela sits down and finally takes a breath amidst so many words. "No problem, I just arrived." He extended his hand and smiled. "Nice to meet you, Claire." Pamela shook his hand and felt a strange electric current run through her arm. "The pleasure is mine." Her nervousness increased by the second, all too aware of the borrowed dress, the strong perfume of her sister that she had hastily sprayed, the heavier makeup than she would ever wear. She was playing a role, and the nervousness made her hands tremble slightly. "A different way of meeting people," he remarked, watching her with curiosity. Pamela swallowed hard. "Different how?" "I can't explain. I've never met someone in a restaurant like this." "Would you prefer a cafe or a park?" Pamela added, trying to capture the essence of her sister. He laughed. Actually, this is the perfect place, he said, still chuckling. Pamela felt the panic rising. Claire hadn't given much information about him. I'm a little nervous, she improvised, taking a sip of water. There's no need to be. This is something new for me too, he replied with a kindness that disarmed her. To her surprise, the conversation flowed naturally. He asked about her work, and Pamela replied vaguely, redirecting the topic to talk about cinema, a safe ground where she could be herself without raising suspicions. You don't seem like someone who enjoys drama films, he commented, seeming genuinely interested. Your smile is beautiful. I'd love to watch a comedy movie with you just to see you smile. The compliment made Pamela's face blush automatically. There are many things you still don't know about me, Pamela replied, surprising herself with her own boldness. For the first time in a long while, Pamela felt seen. Not as Claire's sister, not as the quieter twin, but as herself, even though he thought he was getting to know someone else. The irony was not lost on her. Time passed quickly. 20 minutes turned into 40, and there was still no sign of Claire. Pamela discreetly checked her phone, seeing several unread messages. Excuse me, she said, standing up. I need to go to the bathroom quickly. In the restaurant's elegant bathroom, Pamela finally read the messages. I'm on my way. 5 minutes. I'm parking. How's it going? I'm at the entrance. Meet me in the bathroom now. As if summoned by the messages, Claire burst through the bathroom door, a whirlwind of energy in a business suit. How's it going? Is he more handsome in person? Did you manage to hold the fort? The questions came in rapid fire as she began to let her hair down from the professional bun. Claire, this is crazy, Pamela whispered, suddenly feeling very tired. You didn't mention that he's so nice. Details, details. Claire dismissed the concern with a wave. We change clothes, you quickly tell me what you've talked about, and I'll take it from here. The practice of switching clothes in bathrooms was not new for the twins. In their teenage years, Claire often convinced Pamela to swap places in uncomfortable situations. But this time, something in Pamela resisted. He's different from what I imagined, Pamela said hesitantly, while untying the borrowed dress. Different how? Claire asked, already taking off the blazer. Deeper, more attentive. He really listens. Claire smiled, interpreting her sister's words as approval. See? I told you he was special. In 5 minutes, the transformation was complete. Claire was now wearing the dress and makeup that Pamela had applied, while Pamela wore her sister's suit, uncomfortably loose on the shoulders. Remember, leave through the side door so you don't pass by the table, Claire instructed, applying another layer of lipstick. And thank you, Pam. You're the best. Pamela nodded, feeling an inexplicable emptiness. While Claire left the bathroom with that radiant confidence that always characterized her, Pamela stayed behind, taking a deep breath. Why was she so affected? It was just another favor for her sister, just one more time giving up the spotlight. Following the instructions, Pamela exited through the restaurant's side door, which led to a small garden. From there, she could walk around the building and call a taxi without being seen. But something made her stop by the window that overlooked the main hall. An invisible force was pulling her to take one last look. Her eyes automatically located the table where she had been sitting, but what she saw froze her blood. Claire, radiant in the borrowed dress, was confidently walking towards a completely different table, where a man, also in a navy blue shirt, was standing up to greet her. Pamela felt the world spin. If Claire was going to that table, then who had she spent the last hour with? Without thinking, Pamela ran back inside the restaurant. Ignoring the surprised looks, she walked directly to the table where the man she had been talking to was still waiting, looking slightly confused. I'm back, she said, breathless, sitting down again. He looked at her with a mix of surprise and curiosity. Did you change your clothes? Pamela felt her face burn. Yes, I needed to feel more like myself. The words came out before she could filter them. Something in his expression, open, non-judgmental, caused the truth to emerge like dammed water finding a crack. Look, I need to confess something, she began, feeling her heart pounding against her chest. I am not Claire. He tilted his head, confused. I don't understand. Can you explain? My name is Pamela. I'm Claire's twin sister. She asked me to replace her for a few minutes because she was running late for a meeting. Pamela waited to see anger, disappointment, or even disdain on his face. Instead, to her surprise, he began to laugh. That explains a lot, he said after catching his breath. You probably didn't know your sister's suitor, right? Wait, Pamela frowned, confused. You're not angry? Why would I be? He smiled, his eyes shining with amusement. I just found out that I spent the last hour having a wonderful conversation with a complete stranger. But what about Claire? Aren't you her date? The man seemed even more confused. Claire? I don't know any Claire. I came to dine alone. When you approached my table, I thought you might have mistaken me for someone else, but you seemed so sure. And the conversation was so good that I didn't want to correct the mistake. It was Pamela's turn to laugh, a laugh that started as a small tremor and grew until it shook her entire body. The situation was too absurd. Let me get this straight, she said between laughs. My sister sent me to take her place on a date, and I ended up sitting at the wrong table with a complete stranger thinking it was her date. Seems like it, he confirmed, joining her laughter. And to make matters worse, I let you believe it because I was enjoying your company. When the laughter finally subsided, a comfortable silence hung between them. Pamela discreetly glanced across the restaurant, where Claire was chatting animatedly with her real date. My name is Thomas, by the way, he finally introduced himself, extending his hand as if they were starting all over again. Pamela, she replied, shaking his hand and once again feeling that strange electric current. Nice to meet you. For real this time. The pleasure is all mine, Pamela. The way he pronounced her name, as if savouring each syllable, sent a shiver down her spine. Now that we've established we are complete strangers, would you like to have dinner with me? As yourself this time? Pamela felt something awaken inside her, a sense that she was finally stepping out of the shadows, taking up her own space, living her own story. I would love to, she replied with a smile that was entirely her own. 5 years later, the Bella Luna restaurant had become a special place for Pamela and Thomas. They celebrated there every anniversary of the day they met, retelling the story of the mistaken encounter that changed their lives. That night, the table was fuller than usual. Claire was there with her husband, not the man from that evening's date, but someone she had met months later. The twins' parents were also present, still amazed by the coincidence that had turned a misunderstanding into a love story. Pam's face when she realized she was at the wrong table, Claire laughed, gesturing dramatically. I'll never forget it. And how did you know you were at the wrong table? Asked their mother, who already knew the story but never tired of hearing it. Because I saw you through the window, Pamela replied, looking at her sister. I saw you walking to the right table and realized I had made the biggest mistake of my life. Or the greatest decision, Thomas added, holding her hand across the table. The wedding ring gleamed subtly on his finger. You're right, Pamela agreed, looking at her husband with the same enchantment as in the early days. The greatest decision. Claire raised her glass. A toast to the mistakes that lead us to the right path. Everyone toasted, the clinking of the glasses echoing like music. Later, as they walked home hand in hand, Pamela stopped under a lamppost, the same kind of yellowish light that illuminated the restaurant the night they met. You know what I think sometimes? She asked, turning to Thomas. What? That throughout my entire life, I accepted being Claire's shadow. The calmer, more predictable, more secondary twin. And then, the one time I tried to be her, I ended up discovering who I really was. Thomas touched her face with reverence. "And who are you, Pamela Bennett?" She smiled, feeling the completeness that comes from being fully seen, fully known, fully loved. "I am exactly who I'm meant to be, not someone's version, not someone's shadow, just me. And that," she concluded, standing on tiptoe to kiss him, "is more than enough." As they continued their walk under the starry sky, Pamela thought about how mistakes sometimes are just detours that lead us exactly where we need to be. How sometimes we need to completely lose ourselves to finally find ourselves. And how, sometimes, sitting at the wrong table can be the first step toward finding the place where we always belonged. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.